Who wants to be on YouTube? Who wants to be on Facebook? Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. You're here on CMajor Before the Show, and we are live here on the show, and we're live on Facebook for the first time. And this is an experiment of sorts. We are rehearsing live for our upcoming show on January 24th. So I'm trying out something new today, and if it goes well, we'll do it again next week. So basically what I wanted to do is just talk to you as an audience who will be attending the show. If you're thinking about attending the show, I would love for you to either invite some friends, invite family members that you can bring to the show. It's so much more fun when you have someone with you that you can laugh and talk with, and it really is about fun. So Happy New Year. Welcome to 2020. This is a new effort for us to try to bring more interactive fun to the shows that we do in New York. And so I want to first start off with playing a couple of songs that you may be familiar with. If you listen to the podcast at all, then you will recognize some of the songs, because usually we use that as background music and interlude music. And so some of those same songs, like the one that you're hearing now, will be featured in the show. Now, what's going to be different? I've been thinking about doing this. You all know that I teach piano lessons, and so I've been thinking about trying to somehow merge the familiar with the unfamiliar. So even if you're familiar with some of my music, you may be even more familiar with some classical tunes. So I'm going to see if I can do a little bit of that. We're only going to spend about 30 minutes today. I'm going to review the video on Facebook. I'm going to listen to the podcast and just to hear how we're coming across, and then we'll take it from there. So probably the song that you hear the most if you listen to the CMajor radio show. CMajor Before the Show is a podcast telling you what's coming up on CMajor Before the Show. So the theme to the CMajor radio show is this. So that's the beginning of Gut Feeling, which was one of the first tunes that I wrote. And so what's different is that when I first started doing shows in New York, I would just play the songs, sort of the way that you would play them as a classical pianist on stage, not really saying a whole lot, just playing the songs, and then the audience would applaud. So what's going to be different this time? I want to ask you as the audience, if you could please help me out with your applause. So on the podcast, we play applause. So I'm playing one now, actually. And then you can't hear this on Facebook, but you can hear this on the podcast. If you care to, go to our Spreaker platform and just look up CMajor Before the Show. We're also available on Apple Music, also available on iHeartRadio. If you have an iPhone, you just look up podcasts and then look up the name of the show, which is CMajor Before the Show. And my name is CMajor Porter. So I go by CMajor. I use Porter as the last name to distinguish my name from other CMajors out there. And so you should be able to find us. If you're not, just let us know. You can find us on social media. Also go to our page at CMajorPorter.com, because over there, we feature CMajor's Classroom, where I post some fun music exercises and some things to get you really thinking about what you can do with your music making. Okay, so I just played the applause. Now I'm going to play the cheer sound effect. So again, if you happen to be live with us on both places, on Facebook here or over on Spreaker at CMajor for the show, you'll hear some of the interaction that's going on. So I'm very excited about this. Now, just played the opening to Gut Feeling. And so if I go into the rest of the song, just pretend like I ended the song, okay? So after the end of the song, what I want you to do is just applaud really, really wildly if you can. That's one thing I've learned from attending studio tapings, is that they really rely on the audience a lot to really bring that energy. And I can go either way. I'm really into the music, so when I was trained as a classical pianist, you just play and then you listen for the sound of the applause. What I've learned from studio tapings is that you can actually train your audience, in a friendly way, of course, to applaud, because that's how the energy is going to come across in the room, and that's how the energy is going to come across on a podcast, if we are podcasting live as well, which I intend to do. And then the recordings. So the recordings that we have on YouTube are, I would say, genuinely represented. Is not doctored in any way, but again, just for the fun element of it, and also get the audience thinking about how they're responding to the room, as well as the music, as well as my presentation as the artist, and to really work on your applause. So there's light applause, and there's like rapid applause, and then, you know, there's applause where you just cheer and you basically just stand on your feet. So we want to have all of those at this show, and so I'm very excited about that, to bring you that element of energy, which some people nowadays are calling it the work of an energy producer. So I'm finding myself having to kind of step into that role, or being challenged to step into that role. So I will be asking for that, and then also to make it interactive. I have something else I want to introduce, but before that, let me go back to one of my other songs that a lot of people like, really. Okay, this one's called Weathering the Storm. Place where I could stop, you know, and maybe put something classical in there. I had a student that I was teaching online this week, and we talked about some classical pieces. So one thing that was coming to mind was a Mozart sonata. So I'm thinking where I could put something like that into my pieces, and then flow back into how the piece was written by me. And in some cases, one teacher said to me, "Oh, I just love how you make up songs." Well, if that's what you hear and it sounds made up, maybe so. I don't have a problem with that. what I've done now is just hit the laugh track. So I hope to also draw some humor. I'm not a comedian, but I do have a big appreciation for what's fun and what's funny. So I'm trying to bring that into the show as well. Okay, so how can I put that in? Also, I'll be thinking about that across the week. And then another one. Okay, now, my name is CMajor for one reason, because I first started introducing songs to friends and family, and I found that there was one song in particular that they were drawn to, and that was Weathering the Storm, and that song happened to be in the key of C. And then I started getting requests for that song, so I thought, you know what, C is a good luck key for me. I'll call myself C major. But C major can play in other keys. So what happens if I wanted to play in the key of G, for instance, and that was Minuet in G by Bach? How am I going to flow into that? So I think when I bring this to you again next Friday to follow up on our first live rehearsal, we'll have a second live rehearsal. And it also gets me set for 9 o'clock, performing at 9 o'clock, because I usually perform a little bit earlier than that, but the show is going to be starting right at 9. And what I'm hoping to do is to do at least a 20-minute set or a 30-minute set, but we'll see. The more that you plan to come to the show, in other words, the more tickets that you purchase online, then the better my chances of doing a longer set. So if you want to go purchase tickets, do that right now. I'm turning up my recording. Do that right now by going to aftonshows.com/CMajorPorter. And you can go right there and purchase your tickets online. If you have any questions about getting the tickets, please let me know. You can see me on social media. You can see me right here on Facebook. Our C Major Before the Show, C Major's Classroom page is open to the public. Now, my private Facebook page is private. So you would either have to be in my circle of friends to get to me on that page, or just ask me, send me a message, and I will send you a link to coming to my private page. But for the show page and for the classroom page, go to C Major Before the Show, and you can see that we're live right now on Facebook. There's also some information on our Facebook page for the show that can get you to the tickets page as well. So I hope to see you there. The tickets are $12, and if you have any questions about it at all, please let me know. Now, I wanted to bring in another element that I thought was going to be fun for the show. Let me turn down my music. And I was talking about this with one of my friends, and we were talking about the power of the cowbell. Now, I just learned how to properly play a cowbell, and I have a drumstick here, and I was told by the person that was instructing me on playing this that you don't play with this tip, which is a pleasant sound to me, but you're supposed to play with this part of the stick. Anyway, the idea is that cowbells are supposed to bring more fun. Now, I have experience with cowbell, but for the life of me, I don't recall using a drumstick. And it was because I was in marching band and I was instructed to play percussion that year. I played bass drum, I played cymbals, I played bells, and then ultimately I played cowbell when we did Copacabana. So I remember that rhythm. I had to do that for a very long time. But I'm thinking it might be fun to do cowbell on at least one song. And I'm still deciding what that song is. So we'll put this to the side for right now. So the song that you may recognize, that's Butterfly Wish. not going to play all of it. Tonight is really just an introduction to what we plan to play for you on the live show. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be really fun, and so I'm looking forward to it. Now, what classical piece could I mix with that, or would cowbell work on that? That's my question. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn up my recording of Butterfly Wish. Since I can't play cowbell and Butterfly Wish at the same time, that's when I will need help from the audience, and maybe an audience member that feels comfortable playing percussion or wants to just try for fun. And you can just play straight quarter notes if you want, or if you feel inspired to play something else, then just go with the flow, so to speak. Okay, now I'm going to see if I can find Butterfly Wish here, and then turn up the sound. Okay, so maybe you can hear that. Okay, so I just played it now on piano, and my tempo was a little faster than this, but now I'm back, and so I'm a little bit off. And I was thinking too, when I get to a certain part in the song, I might bring in the person that's going to be doing cowbells, just to kind of add a little bit of interesting rhythm to it. So for right now, maybe like a little light tap, almost just straight quarter notes, or whatever you feel. Right now. Okay, and then it goes to the higher register. And play an octave higher. Okay, now I'm starting to feel the beat a little bit more. Okay, so let me put that away. Say, hopefully you like that. Thank you. So it's just something fun to add to it. And so, again, we're just striving to make it a little bit more interactive. So I've talked about Gut Feeling. I've talked about Weathering the Storm. I've talked about Butterfly Wish. There are 2 more songs that I can do, and I'm trying to figure out what those songs should be. Also, keep in mind that I'm still trying to add in some classical. So I think next week you'll see a little bit more of that, how I'm merging that idea of playing familiar, more familiar with somewhat familiar. Let's say it that way. So the other classical piece that my students are just crazy about is for Elise. So everybody knows that if you're into Charlie Brown, Peanuts, Charlie Brown Christmas, if you love Schroeder as much as I do, and Snoopy, the whole gang. But I really loved that they would feature Beethoven's music on the specials for Charlie Brown when Schroeder was playing the piano for Lucy. And so how could I mix in Free Release with something that I wrote? That's something that I'm thinking about. But I'm thinking it would also kind of really get the listener's attention, that they would hear that and go, oh, there's a little classical mixed in there. So the other two songs, I think I may play something that's not recorded. So there was a song that I wrote. Okay. And one of my fans or friends of CMajor really liked this song once they heard it. And I told them I hadn't recorded, but it was just a piece that I wrote that it was in response to someone that I knew that has such a great personality, just a personality that was so large and so I don't even know how to describe it. When a person has a persona and a personality that just can't be contained, like it just is it's such a contagious personality. It's one of just this type of energy that everyone wants to embrace, and it makes that personality makes you want to just fly when you're around the person. You just really think you can do anything when you're around that type of person. And so I'm sure there are many people like that in the world, but to know one personally. So I wrote a song that reflected how I felt when I was in that person's presence. So it's still not perfect. It's still a work in progress. So I'm thinking maybe I could add Free Release to that. Something. I'll figure it out. So I'm thinking Free Release may be good for that. So the pronunciation, if you're wondering, I'm trying to pronounce it the way that you see it with the umlaut over the U. And so sometimes you'll see the English translation, and it's always surprising to see that because you'll see 4 LOEs. You'll see that. So read the history, if you can. Read the history of Beethoven and how he came up with the idea for the song. Okay, what's another song that I can do at the show? So I'm aiming to do 5 songs, and then with the talking in between, the talking at the beginning, it should be about a full 30 minutes, and hopefully we will have had a lot of great fun, and then you'll go away with some really great memories about the show. That's my hope. Also, one new thing that we're aiming to do at the show is to do a giveaway. And the purpose of the giveaway really is to make you stay until the end. So another thing I've learned from studio tapings, which is a little difficult to leave a studio taping. Once you leave, that's it. They don't even let you back in. But I think it's fun when you think, ooh, at the end, I get to have a giveaway, whatever that is. It could be something small. It could be something larger. It just depends. So I'm working on that with some of my CMajor team members that I've adopted. So they are helping me to come up with some ideas for something that you might appreciate, that will be something you can use toward your music making or future music making. So that's what I'm aiming for. But thank you so much for joining me. And so I think the other tune that I will do will be one that's playing right now. If you go to Django Radio, it's internet streaming right now as we speak. It's a tune called That's All Right. Actually, one of my favorite tunes. So take a listen if you can. The CD is available online as well. Will I have physical CDs at the show? I'm not sure if I will. I was informed recently that someone bought out all of my physical CDs where they were available, and that was nice to hear. This person calls themselves my number one fan. So if you're listening, thank you so much for your support. Also, thank you to the new listeners. I had some friends and some fans who said they would be listening on tonight for the rehearsal. So I hope that this was informative and entertaining, and it gives you an idea of what the show is going to be about. The show, again, January 24th. That's a Friday night, 9 p.m. Come to the West End in New York. If you can't make it, send some friends, send some people that you think may appreciate solo acoustic piano music, because that's what it's going to be. And the sound should be bigger. Right now, it kept the sound a little more subdued. We may bring the volume up, and I may be using a different audio source next week if you happen to tune in. You are invited to tune in next Friday right here at 9 o'clock. And I'll be live again, this time doing probably a little less talking, a little bit more playing, because I plan to implement some of those ideas that I was telling you about tonight. Also, if you happen to be able to tune in tomorrow's podcast will be about another way for you to approach playing the piano. And then, of course, over at the CMajor radio show, we give you another way to think about writing those ideas down. How do you document what it is that you've just played? So tune in tomorrow. I don't have a sneak preview for tomorrow's podcast. If I can, I'll try to post something tomorrow morning, but if not, I want you to be surprised. The first show of the new year, the CMajor Before the Show. If you've been listening all along, you have an idea of some of the things that we're going to be bringing into 2020. And I wanted to also step away from chords just a little bit, still include chords, but step away, meaning I'm going to bring in some more ideas for music making. It could be more theory focused. It could be more focused on scales. It could be more of a focus on playing familiar tunes. It could be more of a focus on classical. I want to surprise you this year. And again, the vibe that I want to bring is fun. Bringing the fun, finding the fun, and finding the funny in music making. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You've been listening to CMajor Before the Show, our first live rehearsal of 2020. And we have been live on Facebook. And thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful new year. And I'll see you right here again next Friday. Take care.